Hello again, everyone. I'm Michaela Finch, and welcome to the fourth and final episode of Quarantine Gardening, where we've been gradually growing a full garden from kitchen scraps. For today's episode, we're going to be trying one of the best methods for feeding nutrients to your plants while protecting the environment. I'm going to show you how to create compost and why it's so beneficial for your plants. So what is compost? Compost is a type of natural fertilizer that can be made from rotting plant materials. It's really easy and cheap to make because all you need are kitchen scraps like vegetables and fruit waste. Compost is made when all of this plant matter is broken down by tiny animals called bacteria, as well as different insects and worms found in the soil. Yes, they may be a little gross and icky to look at. However, these little creatures are so important to the health of your soil and your plants. Once this is done, the compost can be used in your gardening soil to give your plants the nutrients that they need. We can think of composting like following a simple recipe. We need what we call brown matter and green matter to build a healthy compost heap or compost bin. These types of matter provide different kinds of nutrients to the plants. Green matter includes vegetable scraps, fruit peelings, coffee grounds, or tea bags. Brown matter includes shredded paper, torn newspapers, uncoated cardboard, dried leaves, grass clippings, eggshells, and sawdust. Generally, green matter tends to be colored or green, whereas brown matter tends to be, brown. Alongside these types of waste, we'll also add some dirt. To prepare our compost, we need multiple layers of green matter, brown matter, as well as dirt. Using this little recipe, we can make compost in two different ways: an outdoor heap or a compost bin in a container. We'll be trying both. For those who have enough yard space, we can prepare an area a good distance away from the house. I made a special corner for my compost heap, separated by 4 cement blocks. However, this is not absolutely necessary. You can just keep it all in one specific spot in a pile. The area should be somewhere that gets a good amount of sunlight. The first layer of the heap should have a generous amount of dirt, followed by a layer of brown waste like leaves and grass clippings or maybe even torn newspapers. On top of this, we can then add our green waste such as vegetables and fruit peelings. And later on, whenever you're adding to your heap, you can follow the same sequence of layers of brown, then green, then brown, then green, and dirt in between. Some things that should never be added to compost are meat, dairy, candy, plastic, metal, or diseased plant material. These materials will either attract rats and flies or never break down into compost. Keep the compost moist but not sopping wet, and have patience. Compost doesn't take much work since the bacteria and little insects and worms will do all of the hard work by feeding on and breaking down the waste into a form that we can use as fertilizer. Over time, you may start to notice that the heap is so rich in nutrients that plants that you discarded to be broken down actually start to grow all on their own. Before they get too big though, you should remove them and plant them elsewhere to grow separately. For our compost bin in a container, we'll just be using the same recipe in a simple 1 liter soft drink bottle. Get a parent or guardian to cut off the top of the bottle just above the label. Remove the label and ask your parent to poke a few holes around and underneath the bottle using a small thumbtack. These holes allow air to come in for the bacteria to be able to do their job while allowing any excess liquid to drain out of the bottle. So here we have our torn newspaper cut up in little strips, some dirt from outside in the yard, some vegetable and fruit waste, some cut up apple cores and fruit peelings, as well as a spray bottle filled with water in order to be able to give the entire mixture some moisture. Now it's time to assemble. You can use gloves for this step just like I did, so your hands will be easier to clean afterwards and you won't get dirt under your fingernails. Make sure to wash your hands thoroughly after this either way. First, we're going to put a little layer of dirt into the bottom of the container, and then following this, we will put a few shredded pieces of newspaper into the container. You can wet this beforehand to make this process a little easier, make it easier to tear the paper apart. On top of that layer, we will then add our vegetable and fruit waste. I have some apple cores and some fruit peelings, onion skins. We could put all of that on top of that layer. And keep in mind that while the compost can take weeks to develop, breaking up all of the waste materials into smaller pieces can make them a lot easier and faster to break down. You can then leave a layer of brown matter or newspaper on top to cover the rotting vegetables. Over time, as you add scraps to the container, you can continue to follow the same sequence of layers of brown and green matter. Leave the container indoors or outdoors, wherever you feel more comfortable, once it's in a place where it can get heat from sunlight and it can be allowed to do its magic. Keep an eye on it, and if it seems to be getting a little dry, you can use a spray bottle or a little trickle of water to keep it moist. With both the outdoor heap and the indoor container compost, you can occasionally turn the mixture slightly in order to redistribute all of the contents and allow the bacteria to get around. You can also hold on to the cover that you cut off of the bottle and use it as a way to cover the entire compost mixture. It also makes it easier to keep it moist, as you can just spray water straight down into that makeshift cap that you've created. Once done correctly, you won't have to worry about pests or bad smells, and in a few weeks to a month, you should have a fantastic, environmentally friendly fertilizer for your plants. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'd just like to remind you now that ChildLine is available 24/7 for both parents and children, and our services are completely free and confidential. Our number is 800-4321 or 131. Follow us on our social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You should also visit us at our website at childlinett.org.